Alexander Shkudun. Land for construction.
A human life in cosmic time is equal to 11 seconds.
Good news, he announced as he stepped over the threshold and closed the door behind him. His wife stopped preparing dinner and hurried to the hallway. From the children's room, a 12-year-old boy ran out and rushed toward his father as well. Typically, when his father spoke these words, something unusual and exciting was sure to follow. We've finally been allocated a plot of land after so many years of stress and waiting. The bureaucrats gave in. The man triumphantly shook a folder in the air, which presumably contained the necessary documents. His wife threw her arms around his neck. Oh, how long she had dreamed of having her own countryside home, a little paradise, a private retreat in nature. They would build a large house, plant a garden, and create a magnificent orchard. They would enjoy the peace and quiet, gaze at the stars, barbecue on weekends, and savor every moment of happiness together. No! They would definitely have another child, maybe even two. The problem is, the man hesitated, furrowing his brow, this land hasn't been used in a long time. We'll have to spend a fortune to make it livable. It's probably overgrown with grass. There could be insects everywhere, maybe even wild animals. His wife pulled away but kept smiling.
Darling, we've waited so long for this. Believe me, all of that is nothing compared to what we've got. You have all the necessary documents in your hands, don't you?
The man nodded, raising the folder.
There you go. Dreams come true step by step, and it's only natural that it won't happen overnight. We earn enough to afford to clean up the land and start building our new home. Just imagine. We will have our own private house.
Her husband rubbed the bridge of his nose. He was clearly calculating the upcoming expenses in his head. That's true, but to be honest, the land is very far from home.
Far? How many cosmic miles?
About 600. His wife fell silent. Yes, that was far. And not just far, but very far. To reach their new home, they would have to change space transport 3 times and then travel another 10 miles in a private flyer. Additional costs and a huge amount of time spent on the road. The excitement quickly faded. Even their son, realizing there was nothing fun for him in this news, quietly retreated back to his room to play on his computer.
Couldn't they have assigned us a plot somewhere closer?
Her husband spread his hands in resignation. You know how it works. The waiting list for land allocation stretches for years, and all the best spots have long been taken by politicians and the powerful. We should be grateful we got anything at all. His wife shook her head. The man gently pulled her into an embrace. Come on, sweetheart, you said it yourself. We've dreamed of this for so long. Let's go check it out next weekend. Maybe it's a good thing it's far from civilization. We can barely breathe here anymore. The environment there is much better.
But there's no infrastructure. How will we live there? Where will we get food?
Don't worry about that. We can grow everything ourselves. His wife shot him such a piercing look that he quickly added, and in a few years, there will be an entire city there. You'll see, infrastructure will come. Haven't you seen the news? Pretty soon, there won't be any space left to build here. The whole country is overcrowded with traffic and skyscrapers. People wake up before sunrise just to get to work.
But think about it. Under these conditions, we'd only be able to visit our new home on weekends or during vacations. There's no way we could commute to work from such a remote place every day. Living there permanently is out of the question.
I know, but we're not planning to move permanently just yet, are we? His wife smiled.
No, we're still too young to relocate to the outskirts.
She leaned in and kissed him on the lips.
You convinced me. Let's go check it out. But first, let's eat before everything gets cold. Maybe it won't be as bad as it seems at first glance.
Next weekend, after a series of meticulous preparations for their long journey, the family departed from the first spaceport, setting off toward their long-cherished dream. They traveled as a trio, firmly believing that they should see their country house for the first time together. Their son, however, attempted to argue, citing pressing meetings and responsibilities in the city, but his parents remained steadfast. Moreover, exchanging a knowing glance, they promised to buy him a long-desired toy upon their return, a strategy that had proven to be 100% effective and had been successfully employed by them for 4 years. The boy packed his own bag and even ordered a taxi to take the family to the spaceport. First, aboard a luxurious space laner, they made a hyperspace jump past the first satellite, transferring it to an orbital space station. Then they navigated an asteroid belt near the first planet, switching to another mode of transport once more. Finally, passing Pluto, they boarded a liner that brought them to an unexplored sector of the solar system. There, at the only station in the vast expanse, a private flyer was waiting to take them directly to their destination. Once aboard the flyer, the couple allowed themselves a closer look at the commentary on their newly acquired land. A holographic display floated in the air before the man and woman, who sat comfortably in leather seats. Their son was curled up fast asleep on the back couch of the vehicle. Look, it also says there are several bodies of water on the property, both large and small. Mountains, steppes, plains, even volcanoes. His wife took his hand.
That's wonderful.
She said nothing more. Exhaustion had overtaken her completely. Sleep had been scarce, and her body resented the frequent changes in transport and the constant travel. None of them had ever ventured so far in their lives, and though they loved to travel, this was by far the most exhausting journey they had ever undertaken. In the distance, land appeared. After some time, the flyer made a smooth turn and descended lower, skimming just above the surface. But what they saw did not bring the couple any joy.
Oh my God, what is that?
The man turned to look where his wife was pointing. Well, I did warn you that everything here was overgrown with grass.
That's not grass. Those are entire thickets.
She began to grow agitated.
And on top of that, it's probably infected with something. It's glowing. And look at all that filth around it.
The man nodded, confirming her concerns. He had never seen grass like this either. It was strange, tall, and, judging by the way it stood rigidly, quite solid. It did not even sway under the wind. More disturbingly, countless tiny creatures scurried through it. The flyer had been flying for quite some time, yet there seemed to be no end to the strange grass and the teeming creatures. Civilization had clearly been absent from this place for quite a while.
Even in 3 years, we won't be able to clear.
The woman started, but her words turned into a piercing, sudden scream. The boy jolted awake, leaping from the couch. His father, startled, tensed in his seat. What are you screaming for? Are you out of your mind? But within seconds, he saw it too. 10 strange objects were approaching the flyer. Mom, the boy asked cautiously, pointing at the window. What is that? I suppose. Bird, son, the father said quickly, watching the winged, elongated creatures, while shooting a sideways glance at his wife, who had covered her mouth with her hand. They look like some kind of mutant birds, the boy observed seriously. Are they dangerous? I don't know. The flyer's autopilot did not wait for the objects to come any closer. It responded with fire. 10 shots, 10 targets, the creature's trailing smoke began to plummet. We got them, the boy cheered, clapping his hands. Dad, this place is actually really cool. The couple exchanged glances.
You know, maybe we should just forget about this land. If creatures like that swarm this place, ones that could be highly venomous and dangerous, I don't want to put our children or ourselves at risk.
But we haven't even flown over the entire property yet, the man said regretfully. Besides, we could always clear it out.
Clearing it out would take a fortune and time, neither of which we have. Let's just sell the property. That way, we'll come out ahead.
The man fell silent. It was clear that doubts plagued him as well. I didn't want to mention this, but this land has already been resold 5 times. Probably for the same reasons we're considering. It's easier to sell and make a profit than to spend money on specialized clearing equipment. Although, I do recall that a few decades ago, a government official tried to reclaim this area using acid treatment. First, he flooded the entire place with water mixed with acid, then started construction, but soon enough the land was overgrown again, and after some thought, the politician abandoned the project. Incidentally, his auxiliary buildings, shaped like triangles, should still be around here somewhere.
See, if a politician couldn't develop the area properly, there's no way we could manage it either. Let's take the money we make from selling it, buy a new flyer, and take a trip abroad. We can visit new countries.
Mom, Dad, I've never been abroad before, and you promised, the child whined. Fine, the man sighed, waving his hand wearily. To be honest, I'm not thrilled about what we've seen here either. Let's head home. We'll make it back just in time for the next episode of Other Civilization. With that, he gave the autopilot the command, and the flyer began to turn back.
Earth. Central Space Administration. 11:23 p.m.
20 people watched their monitors with bated breath. The blinking dot on the screen gradually moved away until, after a few moments, it vanished from the radar.
They're gone, finally.
The director of the Space Research Department for UFO Contacts exhaled in relief and wiped the sweat from his forehead.
Gentlemen, their behavior remains a mystery to us. We don't know what they want or what they are doing on Earth. As you all witnessed, another attempt to establish contact with these uninvited guests has ended in complete failure. And now, I have to answer to the president for the deaths of 10 of our best Air Force pilots. I want a press conference convened immediately, and I will make a live statement. The official narrative is that everything that took place at 11 p.m. tonight was nothing more than a routine military exercise, a test of the new X-class fighter jets currently in service. Due to technical malfunctions during the flights, an unfortunate accident occurred. There were casualties. Understood? Forget what you saw. There were no UFOs. Is that clear? Now get to work.
He stepped away from the central control panel, dabbing at the sweat on his forehead with a handkerchief. A long conversation with the president awaited him, but he was used to that by now.
Kiev, 10 of May 2008.